in a more theoretic level, or how do these tools and why do these tools, leverage that ability to change the economy?
Yeah. For me, that's precisely because they allow for the creation of modes of relating to one another in a way that is not constrained by the current rules of the system, but that instead is emergent and is, to begin with, collective, because it's different parties, different economic spaces, different people or communities getting together and deciding to design certain tools that would allow them to begin with to coordinate better, for instance. And so for me, that's already like an initial, like a crossing of a different kind of thresholds into economic relations that also are social relations. So, and again, precisely because the logic is based on a logic of non-scarcity, which comes from information, right? Of the possibility to copy and modify and share and exchange information and knowledge in ways that never reduce the relation, but always increase it and make it more dense, more texture, and more open to even further uses. That for me really changes like the economy at a very fundamental level. And then obviously there is the issue. The main issue is that, I mean, the main novelty is really the possibility to render liquid other kind of values that in the current system of that only acknowledges monetary value are not taken into account, or are not made, are not acknowledged or recognized in any fundamental way.
If I can jump in, because I appreciate the question. To follow what Laura is saying, I think it really comes down to being an expression of autonomy, but at levels that have never been accessible in this way before, at least to have those levels have a visible or sensible interface. So if we think of the way value is produced as always collaborative, always a copoiesis of insensible production, that these heterogeneity of values really are ontologically different. We need to think of it in terms of kind of the ontological variability of the commons, and it really does matter what these singular values are. And because of being able to program these particular forms in the future that give expression to these values, we suddenly are giving the capacity for liquidity or expression to these values that haven't really been possible before, particularly in the form of money, which is this univocal expression of value that flattens the whole kind of array of rich values around us into this particular plane of equivalence. And that, so from that kind of fundamental standpoint, if we think of values as being attractors for our own becomings, or our own behavior around which our lives begin to orbit, I see this as giving people tools to be able to craft those attractors through the kinds of relations, the kinds of organizational structures, the kinds of kind of tokens as minimal interfaces for those values to gain ability to be circulated, as quite literally being able to set those kinds of attractors for one's behavior. That it really is